What was a dude, just go home kinda moment when you witnessed someone trying to impress people? I'm a lifeguard, so I see lots of really awkward interactions between 12 to 14Y/O kids. My favorite is when a kid belly flopped trying to impress a girl and ended up throwing up instead. Can any women out there confirm or deny if belly flops are a good approach to getting laid? Gotta show them you are alpha by butting dominance over the water. The red belly is the mark of a true man, and you're a real woman. You know it's illegal to pretend to be a woman online, right? This is important data collection, so no tomfoolery, please. Amateur. It was the vomit afterwards that really won her heart. The belly flop opened the door, but the buff is what flooded the streets. Myself and a friend were at a pub. Just two girls having a drink and a laugh. There was a dude who was bothering us all night. He was pretty drunk and very annoying. We were polite to him at first and conversed, but he was getting very sexual with his comments, so my friend just told him to duck off. He left us alone, but at closing time we were outside waiting for our cab and he started again. Only this time he was being an even bigger duck, calling us sluts and b*tches etc. A big guy who was close walked over and told him to piss off and stop bothering us. The drunk guy then tried to punch the big guy, but misses, then realizing he's about to get his butt beat runs across the road and gets hit by a car. Instant karma. Jeden. Sutra. I was in the smoking area of a busy bar with a friend of mine, and he started chatting up a girl. I was doing the usual small talk with her friend, you know, the small talk that has the subtext of, well, those two are probably gonna bang. How about this weather we've been having, huh? My drunk friend decided to do the condom trick to impress his newfound lady friend. The trick where you unroll a condom, snort it up your nose, and spit it out your mouth. Well, it went a bit wrong. The condom went up his nose alright, and some of it managed to drop down into his throat, but the base of it stayed lodged somewhere around his sinuses. Within seconds, theatrical snorting gave way to uncontrollable coughing, choking noises, and then projectile vomiting that sprayed out his mouth and his one unblocked nostril, covering the table, a large area of floor, and, of course, his newfound lady friend. Cleared the entire smoking room, got us both thrown out of the bar, and needless to say he did not get laid that night. The trick where you unroll a condom, snort it up your nose, and spit it out your mouth. What the duck? It's a thing. It's about as disgusting as it sounds. Pro tip though, if you want to see it done, never ask my friend for a demonstration. I laughed so much when a mate of mine did this after a night out I threw up myself. So basically, if you do this trick someone is bound to throw up. Oh god. Friends of ours have a sailboat and a ton of sailing friends. Several years ago, their daughter's first communion rolls around, and they have butted bash. Now the thing about sailing people is they're friendly, and you cannot tell the guy with the 50-footer from the guy who scrapes the barnacles off, especially when everyone is hanging out in a backyard with a bunch of beer and barbecue. New neighbor is there too. He does his Becca USE I'm a lawyer thing, where he's all pompous, talks to this nice older lady and treats her like dirt because he's a lawyer. He makes sure she knows that he is very important because he's a lawyer. 10 minutes later, he's doing his pompous lawyer thing with someone else who says, "Oh, hey, I have a great contact for you to meet." Drags the whole lawyer over and says, "Judy, meet //hole //hole. This is Judy, Dean at Georgetown Law." It was, of course, the nice older lady. I would have liked to seen his reaction. We were all waiting for the bus after school and this kid whipped out a guitar and sang a god-awful remix of some Jason Mraz song to his love interest. It didn't help that his absurdly unkempt fingernails were used as his guitar pick. It was a train wreck, and I still violently cringe whenever I think about the poor girl just standing there trying to be polite throughout the ordeal. Had this happen once, at least the start, I was in a middle school with music program, so we were a small group, like a tiny clubut, who would regularly leave the actual school to go to the music school nearby as the program intended. It was on precise hours, so we would all go together. One of the guy, a guitarist, Had a crush on a girl also playing guitar. We all knew. Even her. But she wasn't into him. So she just tried to dodge the subject. Well, one day he takes out his guitar as we're all waiting in front of the music school. Early morning and it was opening after the actual school. So we had to wait a bit. He takes his guitar, turns to her, and as we're all ready to see a disaster, she just dashed clothes on him, puts her hand on the guitar to block all chords, and gave him the coldest no I've ever witnessed while looking him dead in the eye. Oh god. That's painful. Why do people do that to themselves? IDK. It was painful just to witness. To be fair, the guy was, and still is, a huge weeb expecting for random girls to come to life. So he kinda lives in his head, if you get what I mean. But it sure was a power move from the girl. So how did he react? It was this dude in high school who kept talking about how he was gonna sing a song to a girl he was crushing on and win her heart. We all thought he was just being stupid. Well, charity drive week comes, and you could like rent the mic in the cafe to raise money. Most people used it to like play their favorite CD, or make their friends suffer through the worst 70s pop music, or whatever. Well, this Duckagari rents the mic, and sings something to the girl, and yeah, dedicates it to her. So she's in bed but it is duck and walks out almost immediately, and I don't even remember if he was terrible or not, but basically everyone was just like WTF. How did Mike feel about all this though? Yeah, I mean, Mike was minding his own business, and to be rented and used, poor guy. Hope has okay now though. I had a guy pull up in the lane beside my car on a motorcycle at a red light. He did this little wave and kissy smooch face at me and kept revving it up. When the light turned, he tried to do a wheelie takeoff and ended up falling off. I stopped and asked if he was okay, at which point he realized that I was old enough to be his mother. Still makes me laugh. This is my fav so far. This dude failed without alcohol, guitar, or a teenage BS story. Maybe it wasn't he realized that you were old enough to be his mother, but rather how women older than him could be so hot. I was at a wedding on one of the islands far off the northwest coast of Scotland. We were at the reception in a hotel. It was around 9 PM. Things were going well. Everyone was having fun. A bunch of residents came into the function suite, and most of them were fine. They kinda just disappeared into the mix. Really? But this one lad. The happy couple were amongst the last in our friendship group to tie the knot. Consequently, almost all of the women there were married. This one lad decided he was going to have a crack at pulling each woman. He went around the room in sequence. When he crashed and burned with one, he'd go on to the next. Usually, the next was an earshot of the previous conversation. He would use the same line on each lady. Why have you come here? It's a total shuthole. Nobody gave him any grief. We were all in too good of a mood. And he was wrong. It wasn't a shuthole. At least not for a visit. Perhaps a bit limiting to live there. But for a visit it was lovely. Why do weddings bring out the cringiest behavior? At my cousin's rehearsal dinner, there was a man who was a family friend of the groom who was a complete jackbutt, but fancied himself wittier than Oscar Wilde. He noticed that there were several pregnant women at the dinner, and decided to make a joke that everyone here is pregnant, haha, followed by going around asking random women, including the bride's 82-year-old grandmother, if they were pregnant. Open bar. And milestone moments like that tend to make people notice their own lives and find themselves wanting that, or it makes them nostalgic. Mostly the open bar. Guy in an expensive looking suit, with an expensive looking haircut, carrying an expensive looking briefcase, pushing through a bunch of people at a bus stop, including elderly, while loudly talking on the phone about the VIP accounts he managed. He kept looking at people and smirking. When the light changed, he immediately charged across the street, saying something like, "Move. I'm more important than you." And he slipped on the roadkill possum in the crosswalk, and put his hand in it. True karma. I was at a club with a few friends. Two of the friends were fighting over a guy. Long story, and I took them outside to try to talk it out. We were sitting on the windowsill of the store next to the club, and this guy who kept trying to hit on us in the club came over and tried to sit down next to us. I told him we were trying to figure some things out and could he please give us some space. His friends came over and he started calling me a BH, telling me it's a free country and he can sit wherever he wants, etc. I said please just leave us alone, and he kept going off on me. We ended up crossing the street to get some space, and I see a much bigger guy approach the guy that was bothering us and punch him square in the face. Guess we weren't the only people he annoyed that night. At a party, a drunk guy was bragging to girls he could take everyone there in a fight because of his high pain tolerance, and asked someone to break a bottle over his head, which they happily obliged. So he pounded the rest of his beer and knocked him good over the head, but the bottle didn't bust, instead it just bounced off, and he fell face first into a block wall unconscious with a huge knot forming on his head and blood streaming from his now broken nose. This is why women statistically live longer. As a man, I 100% agree. You agree? I'll hit you with a bottle for that. On our last week of high school, we had senior day where the school rents like 10 to 15 inflatable awesome things for kids to do, and we just have a giant field day. Problem: on our senior day, the staff didn't show up on time, so they crowded us all into the auditorium, gave us a microphone and essentially just let us all vamp for like an hour and a half. There were impressions of others, jokes, people sharing heartfelt memories, some people singing. So this one kid, who was a definite loner, runs to his car and brings back his speakers and a guitar, hooks everything up and just starts playing, and playing pretty well, but has a loner, so it's not really mainstream stuff and has not singing or anything, just playing. It was great for like 3 minutes. A lot of us were impressed. Hey, we learned something about Mickey. Good for him. He wrapped up the first song and went into the second and a third and a fourth and didn't relinquish the stage for like 20 minutes. We were all mostly quiet and polite, gave the occasional cheer and clap, but we would clap after each song like, okay buddy, take your bow, you've earned your moment, let's go. But he just took every applause as let's do it again, so has start right back up. It was the most awkward thing watching him and realizing that every single person in the room wanted him to stop, but he just kept on jamming. Oh man, that is such sweet revenge, and you guys couldn't do shit about it. Go Mickey. I don't know who this man is, but until presented with further evidence, I will make him my hero and champion. 2 years ago at a 4-day camping music festival, it was 2 or 3 in the morning and our group had made our way back to our campsite, sitting around and chilling for a bit before those of us who were turning in did so. Occasionally the group picks up hangers on in the forest, and for the most part they are cool people. This guy was being obnoxious, though, and I don't know who he was tagging along with. Perhaps that person had left again, and this guy felt he had found an audience. He was on an inflatable sofa between a couple of others, the rest of the circle made up with camping chairs. Some people are sitting, some are walking around, or going in and out of tents preparing to head back out. He keeps asking people for topics to freestyle about. Jim, a word, man, or a thing. I'll freestyle about it. I'm good but I gotta get better, and you guys can help me practice. He would just keep repeating that until someone humored him and give him a starting word. For the life of me, I can't remember a single one of the prompts he dragged out of us, but when he got one, it would always go the same way. He'd start improvising 4 or 5 syllable lines that included the initial word. Then he'd get maybe 1 or 2 coherent lines after that which rhymed. Then he would just kind of fall into a mumble, not saying anything but keeping the rhythm he established. Occasionally words would bubble up out of the mumble mush, usually things that rhyme with his starting word. After he'd run dry on a word, which never took long, he'd immediately start pestering someone else for a topic, even when it was hinted at that we were after a quieter, calmer atmosphere. He just went, yeah man, that's cool, I get it. Jim, a word, man, I can freestyle about anything. We eventually convinced him to go try to find his friends, but of the people who were around, no one was impressed, and everyone just wanted him to stop. The Wooks man. During a house party at my sister's, one of the friends got too drunk and started asking all the women their bra size. Eventually my brother-in-law told him to go home or get knocked out. Ended up getting a ride from a DD, designated driver. Glad you specified designated driver. I thought that guy won the numbers game and had a girl W/DDS take him home. Would have been funnier to leave it ambiguous. Dang. My girlfriend at the time got her first acting gig in a mutual friend's film after the premiere. She and I and a bunch of local beautiful people went to a swanky bar/restaurant to celebrate. She sat down at the bar and the local male Univision anchor sat next to her sloppy drunk and started hitting on her saying, "Did you know you look like Bibi Gayton, as a little older?" I just watched, kinda embarrassed for him, kinda chuckling. I went home and, sure enough, she did kinda look like her lol. Bibi Gayton, okay. That's a rather old reference. Sorry, Bibi, yeah. The guy's a little older lol, I had to look her up. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you want more videos don't forget to like and subscribe. You are helping me a lot. Thanks again.